creating a watercolor portfolio depicting the natural aquatic systems located around Pure Cedar Creek Institute and their relationship to my own mental health, specifically how it helps me cope with my ADHD. So far, I spent most of my summer so far around Brewster Lake with the intent on studying how the environment affects both my mood and my ability to focus. For example, the elements of change in the atmosphere, flow, color, reflection, form of the water around me, as well as the reaction of the watercolor medium on my canvas. I have chosen to study mental health alongside with my art because my ultimate career goal is to become an art therapist. So, just a little introduction to what art therapy is and what I aim to be after I complete my graduate degree. So, art therapy is a type of therapy between a professional clinician and patients, and it's a way of using art as to express feelings, such as exploring how someone feels while they're painting, or go afterwards looking at a painting, or any type of thing such as like play or drawing, and looking back at something, seeing how they might have felt while doing it, while also creating a sort of therapy while doing it. And it's also used to promote self-awareness. So being aware of the self is the first step to being able to heal. It's also helped to restore function after you've gone something like traumatic and you need to start to feel natural again. It's a great way to introspect into your own self. And one of my I think most important things with children is to develop social skills with children such as autism and others who have trouble speaking with their peers or anyone else. And also, interestingly enough, can be used to aid in diagnosis as well. To look back at someone's artwork, pick at it, and look some of the things that they've drawn and see some things that they might not have seen before. So before I came here, I looked at some artists that really inspired me, and I was fascinated by the way that they depicted water, trying to get some ideas of how I might want to paint it. This first piece is Starry Night Over the Rhone by Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh is one of my favorite artists because of his use of color and the way it depicts emotion, along with his use of strokes, which also depict his emotion, as well as the colors and movement of the water itself, as well as the movement in his mind. This next piece is by Janet Fish. It's called Skowhegan Water of Glass. This is a more in-depth study of water itself. It's more focused, more concentrated, yet there's a lot more color and a lot more fine detail. But she spends a lot of her time and enjoys what she does, and I wanted to figure out how to enjoy some things that she does as well, with either fine detail and being free at the same time. So that's why I look at both artists. And finally, one that's probably closer to what I'm doing is Joseph Raphael. Joseph Raphael's mostly interesting to me because his use of color. His use of color is not necessarily overlapped, it isn't blended, it's all like next to each other, and it's strategically placed in a way that is abstract yet representational. So I've spent the majority of my time around Brewster Lake here. I have enjoyed every minute of it, going on the lake, sitting at the pier, just absolutely beautiful. And I have some pictures to show kind of what I see when I see the lake. I took this photograph because I was looking at the different wave patterns that Brewster Lake had. So in this photograph, you can see there are about 4 different kind of wave patterns, 4 or 5, if you look close enough, which evoke this sense of grid, flow, movement. And here, some examples. This one is a more calm type of wave, which evokes different emotion in myself when I'm looking at it and when I'm painting it. The next one is a little bit more choppy. The waves are a little bit more exciting, and which also evokes maybe more of an exciting brushstroke when I'm looking at it. And this final one, there are a lot more wave patterns, of course, but this one is one of my favorites because there are all these like darker spots within it that I feel like are a bit of a mystery every time I try to paint them. And the most interesting thing about water is that how much it changes in just a few minutes. It can go from very choppy to very smooth, just depending on how the wind is blowing. And that can really change artwork, especially when you're trying to paint one thing and it changes next time you look up. So, my artistic process. So I started out not knowing exactly how I was going to paint. I had chosen my medium, which is called clayboard, and I put watercolor on it. Clayboard is a smooth surface that really soaks in the watercolor, and you're able to pick it up with either a wet rag or something sharp to scrape it off, and I was really fascinated by this. So this is one of just a more generic study of the landscape itself, as I was trying to find what I wanted to study. This is just a long thing of Rooster Lake. You can see the different kind of wave patterns and colors that I was just exploring just to see what I was looking at. This next one, completely different, but this is a wave, at least. And I was studying not only the way that it appeared before me and the way that it was moving, but also in the way that I felt. So there's a lot of different colors in here. So I start out my day by looking at the water and painting it on my canvas. And then I go back and I either take it to my room or my studio and I add colors depending on how I was feeling. The way this actually started particularly was on a very odd day and I wasn't feeling all well. So I was like, this is a good art therapy day. So I got my paints out and I just went to town and I kept developing it until I was satisfied. And this is a close-up of the work. Something I'm most fascinated with is how the watercolor reacted with the surface, not just the water itself that I was painting, but the water that was on the surface. It's a little bit like Inception here, but the way that the water would pile on top of each other. One of the biggest lessons from this painting in particular was learning to step back from my work. I would have to put a lot of paint on it and it would be really wet, and I'd have to step back, and I'd have to wait for it to dry. And then I'd come back to it, and I'd put more colors on it. I'd often even take it outside to dry in the sun. And there's just so many fascinating things that happen with the medium that helped me go on the rest of my work. This is a close-up of the next painting. This is just showing how this color separation was working. I have a new medium of watercolor that is more concentrated, so sometimes when you mix the two colors together, they end up separating, and it's just really fascinating to me. And that's the bigger picture. This is of a splash. And I'll also study kind of the colors of the lake, but also how I saw it. This next picture is just of a bubble. I swear the face was in the bubble that I was looking at. Not a real face, but like the shadows and the highlights. So again, just a study of that medium. This next piece was more emotive. It involved a lot of scraping, because I have a little tool that scrapes off the canvas, and it involved a lot more hands-on and just more of a feeling of the lake and the movement of the waves itself. This next one is of a wave. It's completely different in a way that it's been used with straighter lines and more minimal color. With this one, I was focusing on the way that the color was moving, the way that the watercolor was reacting with it and drying so fast. And I love the thing about this piece is that it can be viewed as multiple things. It could be a wave, it could be a landscape, it could be a mountain with a lamplight, clouds on top. This next one's pretty similar, also studying that. This was actually while I was on the boat, which is one of my favorite experiences on Rooster Lake, is to be on the boat and paint, although it is very difficult. This last one here is of a wave. This one started out pretty dark, a little different than my other ones, and I was studying the pictures. I'd taken so many pictures of waves, and I was like, I'm going to do this. Right now, I'm going to put all this black on here. And I worked with it, left a lot of white space, and then added color after I was satisfied with the form, and eventually ended up with these shapes here, which kind of outlined how I felt about when I saw these waves. So a lot of things that I been struggling with is the struggle with balance. It's a love-hate relationship. So control versus improvisation. Control in the medium and improv in the medium are really hard because controlling watercolor is probably the hardest medium to control, or one of them, and I've been struggling with that, but as well as improvisation. So when you lose control, you have to improvise and find new ways to make that either mistake or new discovery work. And that leads me on to focus and discovery. Focus as in focus on my subject matter. So for example, I am focusing on water and I am looking at all these waves and everything and I'm painting, and then I see a dragonfly in the water and there's this dragonfly just drowning in the water, and I get up in the boat and I go and save it, and then I realize, and I have another discovery. The next art project I'd love to do is with bugs. And so while focusing on water, I'm also discovering things around here in Pure Cedar Creek that I've never experienced before, and it's just been an absolutely wonderful experience to be here. And finally, the natural world versus internal representation. Now, I fight this all the time. I love internal representation, but I also like depicting the natural world so people can relate to it. So this is also a constant battle, but it's also the most exciting one. Future goals for this project, I plan to do a couple more actually larger pieces. A lot of these other ones were more experimental, more study, and I hope to also continue studying and play around with the medium to figure out what I want to do, something just more deep and larger. And also, I plan to, after I finish here, to look for further exhibiting experiences and places to show my work. I'd like to thank everyone here at Pure Cedar Creek for this opportunity to be here, especially the Gordons and the sponsors that all made this opportunity.